Today's restorative class is a full body class. It's the moves that I really like to do when I just want my body to move. I don't want to necessarily do a big workout. I don't want to feel the burn, but I want to move and I just want to feel a little bit more connected to my body. I really hope that you like today's class. I'm just going to start by mobilizing through my upper body and my upper spine. So starting with some nice arm scissors, and I'm trying to allow my arms to move as freely as possible here. Again, these are movements that I like to do when I just want to move. So I'm allowing that to happen. I'm allowing for the tissue to feel really nice and free. I'm trying not to hold my shoulder blade down. That doesn't necessarily mean that I start doing this and going up into the ear, but there is a certain amount of freedom in the armpit that I want you to find, where you just feel like the arm is moving fairly easily. We're going to do one more like this, and then down. We're going into some nice side bends from here. So I love a good side bend coming up. I'm going to imagine there's helium balloons just gently floating my fingers up, and then that helium balloon catches a little wind and it takes me over. So my hip is going to stay nice and heavy, but I'm allowing for there to be energy out my fingers. I'm not dropping my arm. I'm also not just pushing my ribs out. I want to feel that length through that whole lateral line of my body, all of that tissue, and then deepening the abdominals for a little bit of support as I come back up. Other side, we're going to come up, take a moment, let the helium balloon take the fingers just a little higher, catch that breeze, over you go. Lengthening from the bum, reaching out through the fingers. Trying to keep this opposite shoulder down. I want to hike it up. I have to remind myself to bring it down. And then coming back up. Let's do that again. Helium balloon takes the arm just a little bit higher, just a little bit more free. Catch that breeze. Reaching. And up. One more time. Up and over. I'm just breathing. I'm not thinking too hard about the breath here. From here, we're just going to go into a nice little bit of rotation. So I'm going to place my hands onto my chest for this, on my sternum, allowing my head to rotate to the left, following with the collarbone, and then allowing for the rib cage to just gently follow that rotation. Coming back to center. Other side, the head and the collarbone. The ribs begin to round the spine and back. I'm not forcing this movement. I'm thinking of getting taller and taller and taller through the spine as I do this. Don't think of spiraling down. We're not a screw being screwed into a piece of wood. Think of spiraling up, like a beautiful swirled ice cream cone. I still love those chocolate vanilla swirl mixes. They're so delicious. Think of swirling up like one of those perfect little cones. And back. All right, we're going to come onto our hands and knees now. So the first thing that I like to do here, especially if I'm not looking for a crazy big workout, but I want to feel activity in my body, I let the belly go. And then thinking of that space between my pubic bone and my belly button, I'm going to take a breath in. And on my exhale, I'm going to image that space, gently pulling in and up with my exhale. It's like I'm zipping up a pair of tight jeans. And then I'm going to let that go again. And exhale. Think of drawing up through those jeans. Notice how my back does not change here. Letting it go. And on my exhale, pulling it in. I don't want you to start rounding. Try to maintain an easiness in the back. Last one, let's get the pelvic floor involved. So I'm going to breathe in and image spreading wide of my sit bones and tailbone. And on my exhale, as I drop through that jean zipper, I'm also going to gently pull up through the pelvic floor. It's a bit of a deeper feeling. Let's do that again. Inhaling. Spreading everything wide. Exhale. Pulling it all in. One more time, inhale. And exhale. From here, going into just a little bit of kneeling hinges. So widening through the sit bones and the tailbone, then coming back over the legs. allowing for the tissue to widen. Think of that, a little happy doggy tail, wagging up to the ceiling. And again. Check in with yourself. Do you feel like you naturally want to kind of side bend over to one side more than the other? Like your tailbone is just gently leaning one direction more than the other? Let's try to equalize that. Really think of spreading wide. Really try to let go of that posterior pelvic floor. That's around the anus. You want to let that stretch here. And exhale. Gently drawing it in and up as you come in. One more time, inhale. And exhale. Moving into some scapula glides from here. I'm going to allow my shoulder blades to gently draw toward each other like little elevator doors closing. Then pushing the floor away, let those elevator doors slide apart. The shoulder blades just gently wrapping around the rib cage. And again, let them slide together. Exhale. And again. Exhale. I really am trying to just let the torso go along with this movement. So that way I'm not pushing from my mid-back. There's a tutorial on scapula glides in the tutorial section if you haven't looked at it yet. It's a good one to visit. We need a lot of stability but mobility in that area. It's a fine dance for the shoulder blades and the shoulder joint. We're going to do one more time like this, sliding together and apart. Now, focusing on the lower half of my body, just to the base of my rib cage. I'm going to start to let that tailbone get nice and heavy toward the floor, deepening through the abdominals, and I'm just going to round to the bottom of my rib cage. You can see my upper back hasn't changed position at all. Then sliding the tailbone free, I'm going to, again, just allow that low back to extend. Let's do that a couple more times. Allowing the tailbone to roll toward the floor, deepening through the abdominals, but not deepening through the rib cage. Sliding the tailbone free, rippling through the spine. Again, the rib cage stays quiet. Let's do two more. Rounding. Nice and free. One more time here. Rounding. Nice and free. Go back to a nice neutral spine. Now we have to do that with the upper body. So we're going to lead with the head. Allowing the head to start to feel nice and heavy. I'm going to follow the heaviness of the head with that upper back. Again, trying not to get to my low back. I might get a little bit of movement there, but I'm really going to try to stop around my mid back. And then again, from the head, tipping the head up, allowing for there to be length in the rib cage as I lift the chest. And again, let the head get nice and heavy, beginning to round and roll through that upper back, just the upper back. Letting the head lift, opening the collarbone, opening up through the rib cage. Let's do that one more time. Nice heavy head, rounding through the spine. Then sliding out through the top of the head, allowing for that sternum to lengthen and lift, lengthen and lift, lengthen and lift. And then we're going to go into the full calf from here. So allowing for the tailbone to begin to feel heavy, I'm going to round through the spine, continue to roll through that rib cage. Let the head be the very last thing to get heavy. Slide that tailbone free, ripple through the spine, allowing for the chest to lift and lengthen. Let's do that again, deepening through those abdominals, rounding yourself through the spine. Sliding the tailbone free, rippling through and opening. One more time like this, deepening through those abdominals, rounding through that spine. Sliding the tailbone free, rippling through the spine and allowing for the chest to lengthen as it lifts. Finding neutral and sitting yourself back. We're going to come onto our backs now. Now that is a lot of work for the wrists. I have wrist issues myself. I have a lot of tendinitis that can flare up in my wrists. So We're just going to do a little bit of work here right now. The wrists are going to come up to the ceiling, or the arms are going to come up to the ceiling. I'm going to let the rest of my body feel just nice and easy on the floor. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze those palms together into a fist. And then I'm going to spread those fingers wide, 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 wide. Come into a fist and spread the fingers wide. Feel the heaviness of the arm going down into the floor. Feel how the chest is just opened and melted across the floor. We're not having the shoulders up to the ears. Make those fists. Stretch those fingers out. Feel energy out all 10 fingers. Draw those fists together. Reach out, reach out, reach out, reach out. One last time here. Draw those fists together. Reach out, reach out, reach out. Let the fingers relax, but now I'm going to flex my palms up toward the ceiling. But then I'm going to do the opposite, and my wrists are now going to reach up toward the ceiling as my fingers face downward. Reaching back through those fingers. The fingers are now going to reach toward me. The palms are going to reach up toward the ceiling, and then I'm going to go the opposite direction. One more time like this, reaching through those wrists. And then opposite direction. All I'm going to do now is rotate my hands so that my hands are now facing each other. I'm going to flex the palms the same way that I did before, and then again, point them down toward me, the fingers. And reach the palms away, and the palms face me and the fingers draw down. One more time here, opening up through the hand, and down. And then allowing for everything to float down. Going into a little bit of marching here, I'm going to maintain my neutral spine. Feel the pelvic floor gently pulling in and up, and that gentle wrapping around the core. I can think of wrapping ribbon around a Christmas present or any type of present. And so I'm really nice and supported through my abdominals. Just bringing one leg up to tabletop and then down, followed by the other leg. So it's just a bit of gentle marching. I'm just starting to warm up through my hip joint here, maintaining a neutral pelvis against movement. One more time on each side. And then I'm going to add the opposite arm. So as my left leg comes up, my right arm is going to come up and then down. And I'm alternating side to side. So I can imagine that I'm like going for a very nice jaunty walk through the woods. Just easy marching here. One more time on each side. And down. Arms are going to float up. I'm just going to let the arms reach back behind me, keeping my ribs nice and supported. They're not pushing up to the ceiling. And then the arms arc all the way back down. Let's just do 3 more like that. Arms up, feel the lengthen, gentle lengthening through the rib cage. And then back. And again, gentle lengthening through the rib cage. Back. One more time here. And back. I'm going to bring my first leg up into tabletop, just gently placing the hands around the knee. And I can let my foot get pretty floppy toward my bum here. And I'm just going to go into little circles. So you can almost imagine that your hip joint is like a big bowl and your thigh bone is this big stirring spoon, and you're just gently stirring the stew. And let's go the other way. So what I'm doing here is I'm lubricating through my hip joint. Joints need fluid in order to move with ease. And so that's what I'm doing is I'm allowing the tissue to move. I'm allowing there to be joint fluid that is starting to build up as I do this movement. And it feels pretty nice, especially if you're getting a little hingy, a little stuck in those hips. This is a pretty nice movement. From here, I'm going to let the leg rest for a moment. In the hip joint, feel the heaviness of that thigh bone. Extend my leg up to the ceiling, and I'm going into a bigger circle here. But still with that idea of just gently stirring the stew. I want to maintain a stable pelvis, 2, and 1, and then I'm gonna reverse the direction of that. So I'm only working within a range that my pelvis can stay nice and supported. So that's not a very big circle for me, but that's okay because I can still feel the work that I'm doing through the leg and through the hip joint. And then I'm gonna bend the leg and down, and I do this on the other side. So bringing the leg up, just placing my hands around either side of the knee, and I'm just gonna start to swirl that tissue around. Just nice and easy. And then I'm going to reverse the direction. Just stirring through that hip joint. And then from here, taking a moment to feel the heaviness of the thigh bone, I'm going to come back to tabletop, lift that leg up to the ceiling, and here are my little circles, finding a little bit of support through those abdominals, maintaining that nice stable pelvis. And then reversing that direction. One more time, bending the leg and coming down. I'm now just going to go into some nice hip lifts from here. So finding my neutral spine, I've brought my heels a little bit closer to my bum. I'm going to draw the abdominals in and around that pelvis as I fire up through those glutes, lifting my bum right up to the ceiling, reaching out through the knees and really pressing and anchoring down into my heels. Then hinging at the hips. This is why I did my hip hinges at the beginning. I want to find that nice deep crease and lower my body back down into the mat. Let's do that again. Finding those glutes, pressing up. Inner thighs are nice and active, glutes are active, core is on. And then hinging at the hips, maintaining that core stability as the glutes slowly begin to open and stretch. 2 more, finding those glutes pressing up. And then coming down. One more time here. I'm going to stay up on this one. I'm going to lift my left heel up and down, and my right heel up and down. Just very gentle, up and up. And I'm aiming for that big toe knuckle. I don't want to roll to my baby toe on this. I want to stay nice and supported through my ankle, nice and supported through my inner thighs. One more time on each side. You can really feel those glutes and hamstrings just warming themselves up. And then hinging at the hips, the abdominals remain supported, and I come all the way back down to the floor. From here, I'm going to let one leg go nice and long and bring the other knee in toward the chest. I'm not pushing the leg into my chest. My hands are really just kind of resting there for just a little bit of support. And then I'm going to gently allow for the leg to open to the side. This range is completely individual. And then I'm going to gently draw that leg just over my midline. It gets a little pinchy in the hip on this one, so be careful with it. Only go where you feel like it's a nice bit of movement, not where it really starts to feel like, ugh. We don't want you to get that ugh feeling. That's the technical term, ugh. There's really no way to describe that well other than that word. Last one here. Back to center. I'm going to let this leg go nice and long, and I'm going to bring the other leg in and just give it a gentle hug. So as I do this, the sit bones are widening. I'm allowing my pelvic floor to open. I'm being pretty easy here. And then I'm going to gently allow for my leg to open to the side. I'll get more of a stretch through that inner thigh, allowing the pelvic floor to also open. And then I'm just going to gently guide my leg over into that internal rotation. Again, only working before you get to the ughy point, right? And then back out. And then in. So I'm just gently moving through the tissue again. And I'm just going to do one more time like this. And again, everybody's range of movement is different. You may be here working, and that's okay. You don't need to bring your knee right into your chest for this. And then the legs go all the way nice and long. And I'm going to come onto my side. All right, going into a little bit of side lying work. It's always important to start to strengthen the glutes. They're a major stabilizer for our pelvis, but they're also a major stabilizer for the rest of the spine. So my legs are about 90 degrees from the hip joint. The hips are nice and square and the tummy is gently pulled in. I'm going to give my top glute a squeeze, lift that leg up, flexing my foot, I'm going to reach it out. From here, I'm going to do a little internal and external rotation. So turning my leg out and then turning my leg in. My toes are going to rotate up to the ceiling, and now my toes are going to rotate to the floor. My goal here is to keep my pelvis really nice and quiet. So just the thigh bone is rotating. You can think of it like a key in a lock. So the key is rotating in the lock, the key being the thigh bone, but the lock itself stays pretty stable and quiet, and that's the pelvis. One more time here. Turning that leg out, holding that. We're going to lift and lower, lift and lower. Just nice and easy movement here. Again, working in a range that feels good for you. 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm going to bring the leg back down in line with my hip joint, bringing the knee in toward the chest, giving the glute a squeeze and gently pressing just behind me. So I'm kind of pressing to the corner of my mat. I'm not going crazy far back. I can't anyway. Obviously, I hit my table. But I do want to go back on a little bit of an angle just so I can engage my glute a little bit more. I'm going to do this 3 more times. One more time. Pointing my foot, keeping my leg turned out. I'm going to circles here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7. Last one, 8, but I have to reverse that, of course, for 8 and 7. So by now I'm really starting to feel some good work, some good heat in my side glute. 2 and 1. With control, I'm going to bring the leg in and lower the leg down. I'm going to go to a little spinal rotation before I move on to the other side. So I'm just going to cradle my head, bringing my hand out in front of me. Big rainbow arc, letting the head follow the hand, allowing for the chest to open, and letting that top leg glide back a little bit. And then coming back. And let's do 2 more like that. Just nice and easy, opening up through the chest, enjoying that big stretch. Now, if this doesn't feel comfortable for you with your legs on top of each other, you can absolutely grab a pillow, which will just put your hips a little bit more in line with the hip joint. And then it may feel like it's a little bit more of a better position for you to be working in. All right, up we come. We got to go to the other side. So just getting myself nice and comfortable here for my side lying leg work. My hips are square. My tummy is active. I'm going to give the glute a squeeze. Lift that leg and down. Oh, sorry. Lift up and reach out. Flex the foot. Here is my internal and external rotation. So thinking of that key, rotating, rotating, just nice and easy. From here, I'm going to keep the leg turned out. Here's my lift and lower. And my lift and lower. Lift and lower. And 3, 2, 1. The leg comes in line with the hip joint. Bend that knee. Lead from the knee. Find the hip hinge. Press just behind you. Find the hip hinge. Trying not to sink in the waist. Stay nice and long through that torso. And reach. Pull it in. And reach. Let's do this for 4, 3, 2. One more time here. Point the foot. Keep the turnout. Are your hips still square? Do the rotation 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Reversing those circles for 8 and 7 and 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring the leg in with control, lowering it down. Top arm reaches out, open up, and rotate, letting the head look at the hand, let the chest open to the ceiling and the top leg can glide, and then come on back. And again, opening up through the chest, and back. All right, we're going to come onto our belly for a little bit of extension work. So I'm just going to do my hands by my shoulders for this. The elbows are resting by my side. Pulling the abdominals in and away from the mat. Like I'm pulling my abs away from a little ice cube under my belly button, and I want there to be energy out my legs. My legs are not just hanging out with no energy whatsoever. The glutes are going to turn on, which is going to help find energy through the rest of my leg. Reaching out through the top of the head, it's like I'm nudging my nose, or my little marble with my nose as I come up into just a gentle bit of extension. And then back down. I want to slide those shoulder blades together, lengthening out through the top of the head. Really feel like an airplane taking off, allowing the length to take me into my lift. I'm not sinking into my bottom ribs. And then I'm melting myself back down. And again, gliding the shoulder blades together, lengthening and lengthening and lengthening out with control, drawing those abs in and down. One more time here. Shoulder blades gently draw together, lengthening out through the spine. A little bit of work here. And down. Now I'm going to hover my nose to just off the mat, and I'm going to gently draw those shoulder blades together and then let them relax. Draw the shoulder blades together and let them relax. One more time, sliding those shoulder blades together, pulling those abdominals in. The nose stays hovering. I'm just going to reach my right arm out and then pull it back in, followed by my left arm. So it doesn't have to be like right next to my head. I'm actually opening a little bit more on an angle, more toward the corner of my mat. That's a bit more, it just feels better in my body when I do that. One more time on each side, just gently lengthening. If you need to come down because it's too much to stay in that little hover, then absolutely do so. And we rest here. The hands are now going to just come underneath the forehead, and we're going to do a little bit of work with the lower half of the body. So I'm going to focus on my left leg to start. I'm going to give that glute a little squeeze. The abdominals are active, and I'm just going to lift my leg to a hover off of the mat. Now, when I do this, I really want to make sure I'm not sinking into my low back. So I don't want to kind of do this. I don't know if you can see that, but like this kind of sinking in here. You can see I have a lot of tone right there. It doesn't feel particularly good. So the first thing I want to do is really pull up through those abdominals. As I find my glute, like when I'm extending through my spine, I want to reach out through my foot. So there's length in the lift, and that helps to keep my low back from getting too pinchy and then coming back down. I'm going to stay with that leg. Reaching out, reaching out, reaching out, and down. I'm going to do 4 more like this. Reaching out, reaching out, reaching out, and down. And again. 2 more. 1 more time, coming up. And then from here, I'm going to go to little circles, 1 and 2. And I still want to think of working from my hip joint here. So I'm still stirring the soup and then reversing the direction. And 3, 4, the pelvis is nice and quiet. and 2 more, and down. It doesn't take much to start to fire up that musculature. On to the other side, pulling those abdominals in, finding the glutes, reaching out long and long and long through the foot and down. And again, as I come up, I want to lengthen and lengthen and lengthen and lengthen and down. Deepening those abdominals. Deepening those abdominals. Let's do 2 more. One more time. Circling 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then reversing those circles for 8, 7, reaching out through those toes for 4, 3, 2, and 1, and coming down. Taking a breath in. On the exhale, I'm going to squeeze both legs, bring both legs to a hover. I'm trying to stay as equally weighted between my hip bones and pubic bone as possible. And then I'm just going to do little tiny flutter kicks. Flutter kick, flutter kick, flutter kick. Pull those abdominals in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reaching out, reaching out, reaching out, and down. Pushing myself back into a little child's pose, just so that I can let everything stretch out for a moment. Before I go into the last little series I like to do on the days where I just want to move, I just want to wake things up. Coming back onto my hands and knees. Actively pushing that floor away, I'm going to rotate my elbows back, sending my leg closest to the camera out, but the toes remain touching the floor. I'm going to engage my glute, and I'm going to lift and lower from here. So I'm working within a bigger range of movement than I just did. Just staying nice and supported here for 4, 3, 2. I'm going to hold that. I'm going to extend the opposite arm out, holding that, lengthening out through the fingers, lengthening out through the toes, pulling the abdominals in for 4, 3, 2, and 1, and then coming in. I'm going to do that on the other side. Extending the leg out, but keeping the toes down, and we lift and lower 1 and 2. So again, I don't really care how high your leg goes. I'm not really interested in that. I just want you to work within a range where you can feel the abdominals supporting. You can feel that the pelvis is square. You can feel that the glute is working. And you can feel that you're supporting through your side glute. You're not sinking into your hip. So there's quite a lot going on. You don't need to make it harder for yourself by trying to get your leg up to the ceiling. One more time, hold that. Reach the opposite arm out, hold that. Holding it for 5, 4, 3, pushing the floor away, shoulder away from the ears, and the head is lifted, and 1, pull it in. The last thing that I like to do is really try to wake up the core by just doing a little bit of gentle plank work. I'm going to do this by being on my hands and knees, pushing the floor actively away, pushing out through my toes, and I'm bringing my knees to a hover, maintaining my neutral spine. Holding that, head stays lifted. You're going to want to drop it. Keep it lifted. Come on down. I'm going to do that twice more. So turning the elbows to face the back, actively push that floor away, pull those abs in, lift those knees, and hover. Trying to keep your neutral spine. You're going to want to round the back. Try to keep that tailbone free. 3, 2, 1. Down. One more time. And exhale as I come up, pressing through the big toes. 3, 2, 1, and down. Pushing again myself back. I'm going to slowly bring my hands by my side, deepening my abdominals as I stack my spine one little vertebrae at a time. And then I'm just going to come to sit on my bum and go into a little spine stretch forward to finish. So I'm opening my legs onto a nice V. This is, again, completely up to you in terms of your range. You can also keep the legs bent for this if it doesn't feel good to have the legs straight. Reaching my arms up overhead, I'm going to start to hinge the hip, sending my bum back behind me, and I'm just going to let my body allow gravity to do its thing, slowly falling toward the floor, just relaxing into a stretch, and then rounding up through the spine, stacking each little vertebrae, one little vertebrae at a time. And I'm going to do that one more time. The arms are going to come up, hinging at my hips, sending my bum back behind me, just letting gravity start to get heavier and heavier and heavier as my body falls towards the earth. Breathing in here, breath in, exhale, start to stack and stack and stack yourself nice and tall. And there you have it. That is a class that I like to do on days where I want to move, I want to connect to my body, but I don't want to sweat and I don't want to feel a lot of crazy work. I just kind of want to move. So I really hope that you liked today's class. It is always a pleasure to be invited into your home. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video. Bye.